Hi, this is Laura Chopin, and I'm with Laura Chopin Healing Arts. This is my podcast, Divine Interventions, and this is my 8th episode in 2023. It's been a fun experiment to see what would happen if I turned on Zoom and hit record and tried to express something every once in a while, maybe monthly, that would be inspiring and helpful. And I know it's been a couple months. I'm trying to uh, get something out before the end of the year. It just didn't happen that I felt inspired until now. And today, because it's December 22nd, I was thinking to talk a little bit about the Christ, Christmas. And, you know, what does it mean to undo the ego and to live as a Christ, as Christ consciousness? I know that sounds kind of lofty. It does even to my ears. I went to Sunday school when I was a little girl, and no one ever told me that I was going to get to live as Jesus lived, or as share his consciousness when I was going to school in church. But that's certainly what the Course in Miracles is teaching us, that as we undo what's not true about us, that we share the same mind as Jesus, and that, we are all the Christ in our authentic nature, and that he's presented as the elder brother who's done his work to reveal what he is and to release what he's not, to waken from the dream of separation. So, we touch on these topics regularly, and I'm path agnostic, as I've said. So whatever path is drawing you closer to God, closer to the self with a capital S, releasing your ego, releasing your hatred and your fears and your shames and all of that, that's your path. And you are, you're to stay on the path that's meant for you. So hopefully this applies in a general way, though. And you don't need to use the word Christ. It's just a pointer. All words are just pointers. But what does it feel like? What is it to be alive in this dream reality, let's call it the 3D, but know yourself to not be this separate individual? And I want to also say I'm not declaring some, status as awakened, but all of us who have been practicing for a long time and, diligently doing our very best to forgive our illusions, forgive and release and unsubscribe from all of the thought forms and beliefs that keep us rooted in time and fear, have, by virtue of doing the work, glimpses or, gradual new awarenesses, new experiences of who we are. And so if my individual personal history begins to fade in my awareness, let's say it just isn't that important anymore. Let's say that I feel a presence in me, and that has never changed, that can be much more who I am than all the things that seem to come and go, the aversions and the hopes and the fears and the frustrations. What about who I am without all of those things in play, this field of presence and awareness? So what does it feel like to live like that then? And there's a lot of pointers in A Course in Miracles that are seeds to get us to begin to, touch in, get a sense of what this is leading to, and it's strange too, because if the truth is always true, and this is the truth, that we are as God created us, lesson 110 in A Course in Miracles in the workbook, then it's never changed. It's still here right now. It's completely here. It's all that's here. And then there's something else that is like this, mirage, this hallucination, this mesmerism on top of it. Right? So, what is who I am beyond all the stuff that comes and goes, that just is, So I just think it's good to play with these ideas. And I have to say, in the last few years, especially, it has become very, very helpful for me to remember this pointer, this identity, when I seem to have a challenge, when I seem to have a family member who's having a challenge that I want to help, or when I seem to be looking at a world that seems to not be going very well. It seems to be careening into suffering and hatred and, all that stuff. So what I'm saying is it's very practical. And so if I'm not this body with this personal history, what am I? And the best way that I've come to see it or feel it for myself is I'm this like atmosphere, this cloud, this light, this field. Cloud, I don't mean in the dark sense of a cloud. I mean without solid shape or form, an influence, a field. Those are probably better words. What if that's much closer to my true nature? And then that field expresses in all these different ways, like this podcast and, the body or whatever. But those appearances come and go. And they are part of a script. They're part of a video game script, so to speak. But this field that I am is profound love. Why I think that it's good to think about these things is that this is where your power is in this 3D reality. It's not in your it's not in your personhood. It's in your presence. It's in your light. What if you just walked through your day as light? And, there's many scriptures from the Bible that are pointing to things like pointing to this idea and related ideas. The ground upon which I stand is holy ground. What if everything that presents to you, you responded to as light? From the light, I should say. How would that change things? Like, what does the light have to do about anything? Does it have to do anything about anything? But what is so interesting is that as light, you would only see light. So when you turn a light on in a closet, the darkness just goes away. It doesn't get fixed. It doesn't get corrected. It just doesn't exist anymore. So what What if that's what this is really all about? What if Jesus didn't suffer on the cross because he wasn't on one? What if he knew that everybody else was still dreaming that he was on the cross and he got that, but he wasn't on the cross because he was in the light and there weren't crosses to hang people on in the light. I know these are kind of wow ideas, right? But what if now when I'm with somebody, I can't see their problem, I can only see their light? It's not my job to correct anybody. It's my job to just receive my own correction so that I'm still and always remembering the light, that that's my identity. So what happens then? You're just like this field and things just seem to be better around you. From the level of the images, because you can still see the images, you just don't feel that they're so real anymore. And when one does trigger you and you feel it's real and upsetting perhaps, or even real and, exciting, because that's still just the other side of the coin, same coin. Then your awareness, you as awareness, you as the child of God remembers what all of this is for. Oh, let me remember the truth. So now I'm back into my light. But the big thing that keeps us from practicing and knowing ourselves in this way is this idea of time and this idea that we have a personal history and that we're going to have a future history and that other people are going to have a future history and that we're going to suffer loss because, everything dies in the future. Isn't that an amazing setup for this false identity? It seems so perfectly manufactured to prevent escape. But there is escape. There is an awakening from this, and it is to unsubscribe from this idea of time. If we could do that, we could, it's kind of the linchpin in the whole system, isn't it? When I was 18, 17, I was writing a paper once on the theme of time in a book called The Magic Mountain by Thomas Mann. I've shared this story with friends. And I was literally at a, typesetter, actually. There weren't computers that everybody had back then. At least I didn't have one. And all of a sudden, I was in this altered kind of place in my mind and received this download, as we say, and what a download might be is a transmission from a higher part of your, awakeness, where you suddenly have access to information that isn't, it's just available to you. You didn't learn it somehow. It's just here. It's just, it's like a download into your mind and you receive it and you understand it immediately. Or you know it's true, at least. Maybe you will have to work to really understand it, but it's true. And that's what happened to me. I had this understanding that, oh, time, it's a sleight of hand trick, because the only thing that convinces us that there's time is change. And if there weren't any change, there wouldn't be any time. And that reverberated through my being, and it changed me, kind of prepared me, I think, for everything else that would happen in my life. But think of it, if you didn't change, would there be any time? If your body didn't, seem to start small and get bigger and then get older. Would there be any time? If the sun didn't come up and go down, would there be any time? If the second hand on the clock didn't go around, would there be any time? Okay, so those are all pictures, right? Everything I just described is a picture. So if you didn't have any of those pictures, could you have time? Or would it just be now, 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 now? Now you have memories, but those are memories of pictures. Even a emotion that you might remember is a picture, right? It's like an objectified thing in your mind, and it comes and goes. It's just a picture. Okay, so you, beyond time, you're always here, but you have no personal history and you have nothing about you that changes. Now that, sink into that, just rest in that. Like you can be right here in this body. Part of you knows you're in this body and in this world, and there's things to do at a certain time. Part of you can completely be okay with that. And yet this other part knows it's just always going to be now. There isn't anything real about me that you can tell anybody about that happened. In fact, even if, you and I were together 10 years ago and we went to dinner and had a conversation, you would remember it completely differently, more than likely, than I do. So what's real? But from this place is a lot of freedom. From this place without personal history, without time. So now you be the light that's left, right? The awareness that's left, the clear awareness that's left. And beyond all the appearances that are going to present today, that's all that's really here in the others that you're going to meet and the memories that may flash across your mind, or the thoughts of future that may flash across your mind. You just keep applying what you know about yourself with a capital S, which is who you actually are, to everything that comes across your mind. So this is like a way of being in the world, but not of the world. So now somebody comes for help and you're just seeing the love, the light, the atmosphere of crystal, perfection, this, this love vibration that needs nothing, will never be sick, that's already complete, that nothing can be missing in that you-ness, and we're the same, and yet you can have your expression and I can have mine. Everybody's equal in this. That's the beautiful thing. And problems happen, let's say appearances, happenings, just be normal, just say, sick kids. Then you take a breath, because we're still getting completely convinced of the truth. And so we wobble sometimes when we read the paper about the war and the sickness and the death and destruction. So now sink into this light that you are, and now you're going to experience this development of trust in that light, right? Now you're going to begin to grow up and spiritually mature, that this light is all there is, that this light is enough. And you can rest in that, in the face of whatever seems to be happening. Right? And you can say, from the old way of thinking, what good does that do? That's just putting your head in the sand. That's denial. It's denial of the denial of God. So in that sense, it is. but it's actually influencing this dream that we're in as well, in a practical way. I promise you, if you spent a small part of your day not praying that people be saved in your life, let's say you have a sick family, but seeing them as whole, seeing them as light, seeing them as one with you, one with all the ascended ones, seeing them as the frequency of wholeness that they are. I promise you, you would begin to see things transform around you. I can't tell you how, only that they will seem to get better. And so I think this is very important to practice, because we can be forever undoing the ego. If that sounds like drudgery, that's good. The thing about it is it's always, because it never was real to begin with, it doesn't go anywhere. We just are coming very slowly through kind of a trick in our mind to accepting that only the truth is true. So at some point we have to, not do as much working on our ego as we do just unsubscribing from the whole thing, standing in the truth of the matter. So I think that's the best way to describe what I'm talking about. We're standing in the truth of who we are, the Christ of who we are. Do that every day. Because you're not going to be, arriving at any finish line. If we're just crossing this, we've got this boat of whatever spiritual tools we've acquired, practices and metaphysics and all of that strategy. We've got this strategy boat and we're crossing this river of ego. But we have to eventually get off the boat and stand on the other side. And the funny thing is, there's no finish line that you can see, no summit that you get to where you go, oh, okay, I'm done now, and now I'll stand it. I don't think it's like that. Not for most of us anyway. I think what happens is we begin to get these inklings and then play with that and then trust it and then watch it unfold in our experience. And then we go back to our spiritual lessons and we go, that's what they were saying. We see how Joel Goldsmith was making so much sense when he was saying, abide in the word and let the word abide in you, and, keep your mind stayed on thee, and seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all else will be given unto you. He would teach from the highest scriptural pointers and help people point the way to experiencing this light, this presence of as who we are, as who they are, and acting from that, which is mostly, just receiving and then expressing. I'm not sure. Has this been helpful? We have to try it. We have to try it. You're the light. You are as God created you. You can just use logic on yourself for this moment and say, if there is a God, and if God is all good, if God created anything else, everything else, then mustn't I also be just like him? It, her, they. eternal goodness, light, the one, omniscient, omnipresent. And if I can accept and play with that, how can that, change my experience day to day? And am I willing to surrender my personal history, my personal future, and stand in this identity and let it do the work, so to speak? Let it lead the way? Oh, it's worth trying, right? These bodies will come and go. They'll blink in and blink out, but not who we really are. And the more time we spend giving ourselves the rest of this truth of who we are, the more this fear of death is going to leave us. And there are many teachers who have pointed that this has happened for them, at near or at their deaths, being completely unconcerned and looking at those around them crying and saying, why are you grieving? Where will I go? Did you think I was this body? And so let this be our aspiration. In fact, let this be maybe our new practice we adopt in as something we want to put our focus on this year. It's not enough to just do the work of, bringing the air to the light. Not enough in the sense that there will always be more. But how about also standing as the light? Just try it. Okay. All right. I hope this was helpful, and I wish you lots of good holidays. Happy, happy New Year. And I wish you lots of peace. Okay.
There's a wren in a willow wood. He flies so high and sings so good, and he brings to you what he sings to you. And the love in his lullaby seemed to tell me if I try I could fly for you. And I wanna try for you, 'cause I wanna sing you a love song. I wanna hold you in my arms all night long. And I wanted to know you. I wanna show you the peaceful feeling of my home. Summer thunder on moonbright days, northern lights and skies ablaze, and I bring to you when I sing to you Silver wings in a fiery sky show the trail of my love, and I sing to you. Love is what I bring to you, and I wanna sing to you. Oh, I wanna sing you a love song. I wanna hold you in my arms all night long. And I